You're seeing beside me the port of Rotterdam, one of the very large ports of the world, filled with economic activities. Companies in the world are making their things being transported and shipped, and they arrived here and they leave to somewhere else. Companies, running companies, how does that work? And even a more important question, running sustainable companies, how does that work? We're going to look at this in this video. Let's imagine for a second that you are a company that makes electric bicycles, and you want to actually open a new factory on another continent. You have money, and you have investment, you've made your plan, and you're ready to go, so you need to manage this money, and that's your first metro line, the financial line, knowing where you are, how much you're going to make, how much you have made, and track the liquidity and what's available. With this money, the next step is to hire people. Employees that will help you set this up and run the business over there. And here you have different needs. You need to recruit those people, maybe train them. You need a system where you're going to say which is the boss of which team and so on. Out of those people, you might hire a sales organization and also maybe a marketing team to help your sales and boost your sale. And those salespeople, they will go on the road trying to talk to distributors and things like this to sell the bicycle that you're going to be making. And I said here, go on the road, so they travel. Here is a travel line to manage the expenses or the bookings. Which airlines did you have contract with hotels or restaurants? How much can you spend per day? Once you've sold something, when those salespeople made a big deal, well, cool. Now it's time to start the magic. You need to deliver your bicycle. You need to make them. And this is in supply chain, where you're going to design the bicycle, you're going to have stocks, you're going to have inventory, you have maybe robots to assemble them, you're going to put them in boxes, packaging, put them onto cargo trucks, maybe put them on boats, cross the ocean on cargo. This is the world of supply chain. Underneath everything, you have a line that is called procurement that will manage the spend. So everything that is needed for your employees and everybody actually, in terms, think of a laptop, think of lights in the offices or cleaning those offices, but also think of the rubber tire of your bicycle. You don't make that yourself. You need to buy this bike from another company. And this is the procurement area that takes care of what needs to be bought in terms of items, things, but also services. Maybe you need auditors, security services. Maybe you need some temporary people that help you on a big production day and then they just come for a couple of days. Finally, the Metro Map finishes when it leaves your company, when you go to other company, the business to business. I mentioned maybe you're going to buy this rubber tire from another company. Well, here it is. You are leaving your own Metro Map and you're connecting to someone else. And this is the business to business transaction. And ultimately, you want your own system to talk to the other system of the other company. And this is that line to finish it off, to go out to the external world. And this is what SAP does. We are an operating system for company. Think of your phone. It has an operating system. Maybe it's an iPhone or an Android, and this is the operating system, and you have different apps on it. SAP is the platform that runs companies, and it has different apps or metro lines or different sections of functionalities that are relevant to different companies. I've given an example of supply chain and manufacturing and bicycles, but if your company is a bank, you don't have any of that supply chain. So it all depends how the company or what you do and how you function in which industry you are in, how you're going to use this operating system. For the fun of it, after this video, I invite you to search annual report and the name of a very large company you can think of. You will find probably very quickly a very big PDF And if you browse through this, you will recognize the metro line I've just talked to you about. You will have reporting around all those different activities. This is typically what a company does to report to their shareholders. But those numbers you find in there, they're actually live, and employees have dashboard like something like this one. It's a little bit a random one here that talks about some revenues and some spend and how many people per department. But of course, each one of the metro line will have their own little set of analytics and understanding that world, and you will have other analytics that are for the entire company. The humongous boat behind me, it's even called Giant, is actually a boat that serves to install electric cable between wind turbines in the middle of the sea back to the mainland. This is literally a machine that makes sustainability happen. When it comes to companies, sustainability is not so much external like this boat, but it's internal. How do they behave inside the company to drive sustainability? And this can be very much explained by rerunning the metro line we saw earlier on. Starting with the financial line again, well, this is where the shareholders or the owners or the board of directors, that's where they sit. They look at numbers and they decide on big numbers. If they decide that the company will have a vision for sustainability, they can give the mandate to make this happen. So it's a very important area, basically top-down, making that decision and cascading it everywhere. If we look at the workforce or the HR line, well, in here, sustainability is not just about going green and circular economy. If we look at the sustainability goal of the United Nations, you also have women equality or gender equality, or you have diversity and people right to thrive. This line makes this happen, and it's not just a matter of calculating a number, what's the ratio female-male in the company, but also the mobility of those. Who can become a manager and a director, and what are the percentage at those levels? You can incentivize employees by giving them maybe a bonus if they use their bicycle, or installing charging station for electric cars in your parkings, promoting work at home to avoid the commuting. Those are all different policies that can be enabled to go towards sustainability. The sales organization, the marketing, and the customer line can very much benefit from the sustainable results because it's a very good marketable PR. We are sustainable, we have this certificate, we're doing this, it helps the sales. Sometimes they can even ask for a little bit more money because they are sustainable. It positions you on the market as a leader, for example. And a lot of benefits come from making this very visible to the outside world. Traveling, on the other hand, I've experienced this in my life. Maybe 8-10 years ago, I was flown. I live in Holland. This is Europe here. And I was flown to Shanghai, 11 hours, to present for 30 minutes to a client, and then flown back. I went to China for 30 minutes. I'm not sure I'm so proud of that, and I'm not sure that this is a good policy, let's say, in terms of travel. Here, once again, what you let your employees do and how much bandwidth you give them to choose is a little bit what will determine how their behavior goes. Moving on towards the end of my metro map, procurement and supply chain, they go very much similarly together in this process because they have to deal with spending the money of the company to actually make money. And by spending, on who you spend, in which way, makes a huge impact. Are you buying from sustainable companies? Are you buying, making sure that there was no child labor or that there was no modern slavery into your supply chain? And making sure that there are contracts, as boring as a standard contract clause that says this and that and this and that. Do you track quality? And inside that quality, do you have metrics around sustainable criterias? Those are all different things that can be done inside the supply chain to make it happen. And moving on to the last part, the business to business when you connect to other company. Well, like I just said, who you deal with or who you do business with tells a lot about your sustainable practices. But please get rid of the facts. It should be a no-brainer. You'd be surprised how much facts there are still in use in the world. But inside the communication that you're going to do with other companies, it's not just about sending a purchase order and receiving an invoice or an inventory or things like this. Yes, this is how you've always done business, but you could consider enriching those communication flows with how much carbon was used, or is it recyclable, or where did it come from, where is it going? When you resell something later on to maybe another company, can you pass this data along? So make the flow of information around sustainability between companies something that should be standard practice everywhere. Before we continue, let's pause a bit here and talk about regulations. The Climate Change Act, United Kingdom. The Gender Equality Act of Switzerland. The Right to Education Act, India. The Law of Mother Earth and Integral Development for Living Well, Bolivia. The Marriage Amendment, Australia. The Forest Law Enforcement, Governance and Trade of the European Union. The Marine Living Resource Act of South Africa. The Clean Air Act of the United States. The National Solid Waste Management Commission of the Philippines, and the list goes on. Those are regulations, laws that have been passed that will impact how companies can do their business. And typically this means that information around the activities of those topics will need to be documented. You need a trace, you need proofs of what's been done according to those acts. And where this information falls inside the operating system of the company, inside the SAP system that will provide those proofs. Let's continue. Earlier on, I talked about analytics that are linked to the Metro Map. Of course, sustainability will also derive analytics, and this is how you can track how good or how on track you are with your goals. We see examples here around water consumption in circular economy, how much carbon was used and how much water was used. You will even see land use in this example. Those are metrics that are coming from the different points of your systems that have been integrated with principle of sustainability, and they are feeding the data back in here. But I did mention that sustainability is not just around carbon. There is different other aspects. You can look into people, and here you have your percentage of women in management here. This is diversity, equality of genders, and things like this. It comes from this HR line. And this gives you those goals and how much you're doing and how good you're doing into this based on your own goals and so on. I'm not going to go through all the details here, but basically using the system that you have, injecting goals and making sure that they are used with sustainability criteria and collecting data from this activity gives you a snapshot of what you're doing and your sustainability levels. And once again, you don't really need to install much new things into this operating system of SAP. You just need to use it a little bit differently. And from this, you can derive your sustainability goals. Sustainability doesn't simply happen in a company because they bought a new tool. It's because they've started implementing ways of using the system they have to inject sustainability into it. So my quest to you is, once you learn about an SAP product, when you're using an SAP product, even if the word sustainability is not in there, think, oh, could we do something with that thing and use it for sustainability? And you'll be surprised how many answers you find.